Welcome back to Chapter 2 of our series, Sell Without Being Sleazy, Modern Persuasion. In this episode titled, Discovery, Ask Questions That Reveal What They Really Need, we're going to explore the art of conducting effective discovery sessions. Get ready to learn how asking the right questions can unlock insights that lead to genuine connections and better sales outcomes. Let's dive in. The top-performing sales reps spend less than half of a discovery call talking, yet somehow learn far more. A rep rushes into a demo and loses the deal. Another asks just a few sharp questions and wins a multi-year contract. How can saying less unlock so much more? Most reps think discovery is about having a good conversation. Top reps treat it more like editing a rough draft. They keep cutting fluffy questions until only the lines that truly move the story forward remain. Instead of fishing for any problem that might fit their offer, they zoom in on the few issues that really matter to the buyer's quarter, career, or team. They're less interested in proving they're smart and more obsessed with understanding how the customer actually makes progress. So they don't just ask, "What's the challenge?" and move on. They peel back layers, timelines, trade-offs, consequences, internal politics, until a clear decision picture appears. At that point, the right solution almost writes itself, and the buyer feels like a co-author, not a target. That's where structured discovery comes in. Without it, calls drift into friendly chatter or surface-level checklists that never touch the real business stakes. Buyers are busy. They'll happily answer how many users, but rarely volunteer that their board is pressuring them to cut churn by 15% this quarter. You only get that by asking layered, sequenced questions and then shutting up long enough to listen. Think of it like walking through a house with a detailed floor plan instead of wandering room to room. Same space, very different clarity about where value actually lives. Think of this as shifting from interrogation to investigation. Instead of firing off disconnected questions, you're building a line of inquiry that leads somewhere specific. A shared understanding of what's broken, why it matters, and what fixed really looks like for them. Start by anchoring to their world, not your product. Use opening prompts that invite a story, not a yes/no. Walk me through what triggered you to look at this now. If this goes really well over the next 6 to 12 months, what changes inside your team? You're listening for events and pressures. New targets, missed goals, leadership changes, competitor moves. Those become your guideposts for where to dig. Next, zoom from general to specific with precision follow-ups. When they mention a challenge, resist the urge to pounce with a solution. Stay curious. Clarify. When you say adoption is low, how are you measuring that today? Quantify. Roughly how often does that happen in a given month? Consequences. What breaks when this slips? Who feels it first? Each answer should suggest your next question, like following a thread. If a path goes nowhere, don't force it. Circle back to another signal they dropped earlier. As concrete details appear, translate fuzziness into numbers and stakes. It's painful becomes, "We're losing 2 reps a quarter because of this process." That shift matters. Buyers rarely act on vague discomfort, but they will mobilize around visible cost, risk, or opportunity. Throughout, mirror and label what you're hearing so they can react to it in real time. Sounds like the real friction isn't volume, it's the unpredictability of deals, especially at quarter end. Am I tracking? You're stress testing your understanding with them, not guessing in silence. One analogy to keep in mind. A careful meteorologist doesn't predict a storm from a single dark cloud. They watch patterns across wind, pressure, and temperature before calling it. You're doing the same with budget, timelines, political dynamics, and current workarounds. By the end, a strong discovery hasn't just collected answers. It has co-written a before and after picture the buyer recognizes as true. At that point, recommending a solution feels less like persuasion and more like finishing a conversation they helped start. Think of a founder selling a workflow tool to a VP of operations. The rep could stop at, "So you want to streamline approvals?" Instead, they trace the story. Last quarter, where did approvals slow down a critical launch? The VP recalls a delayed vendor contract. Now we're not in abstract efficiency territory. We're talking about a missed $240,000 revenue window and a tense board meeting. Or picture someone selling training to a head of sales who says, "Our close rates are soft." Rather than jumping into features, the rep asks, "Show me the last deal you thought was a lock but slipped. What actually happened in the meetings?" Together, they unpack that managers aren't coaching early enough in the cycle. The need shifts from generic training to frontline deal reviews. Notice how in both cases, the prospect ends up naming the real problem in their own words. Your questions act less like a checklist and more like scaffolding that lets their thinking climb to a clearer view of what change is really worth. Soon, your best questions won't live on a notepad. They'll evolve like a playlist that updates after every call. AI will surface patterns you'd miss, phrases that precede stalled deals, blind spots specific to each vertical, even emotional cues in a buyer's voice. Think of it like a seasoned editor quietly tightening your script as you perform. The upside: sellers who treat discovery as a living skill, constantly tweaked, tested, personalized, become irreplaceable guides in an automated buying world. Your challenge this week: in every sales conversation, ask one question you've never used before, but only after you've uncovered something specific you could easily jump to solving. Pause, note your instinct to pitch, then go one layer deeper instead. You're not just hunting for pain, you're mapping the paths your buyers actually take under pressure. This was Owl Up, your daily step forward. To keep learning with structured courses and more insights, go to owlup.co. Until tomorrow!